Hey, what's up, family and friends? I am in my car, and why am I in my car, you may be asking? Well, I had intended on doing this video in this nearby park, but it turns out there's a special event going on, so there's a lot of noise, and it's kind of windy, and I didn't want to risk recording this video and having a lot of background noise and wind noise in the mic. So I thought I'll just get in my car, close the door, and just share what it is that I would like to share with you now. And that is about the giants. We've all heard the stories, Genesis, where the Nephilims, supposedly fallen angels, had mated with earth women many years ago, and out came these children who had become giants. Then, of course, there's the symbolic story, and actually truth in plain sight, with Jack and the Beanstalk. We've seen countless movies where there is a depiction of giant humans. Now, I've said it before and I will say it again. We live in an upside down reality. What is often pushed as a common truth is actually distortion or a flat out lie. And a lot of the things that we have been taught as folklore, myth, make-believe is actually the real history, okay? The real history disguised as make-believe, fantasy, fairy tales, and what we're living in really is the fantasy, the make-believe, no matter how harsh and how real it appears to be. Again, the illusion is what we see, but the experience is real, okay? So I need to make the distinction very clear when I talk about illusions. The illusion in that this world and that we are solid, that is an illusion. Reality is far more fluid and vast than we can perceive, and this is all leading to what I'm about to share with you. Now, I cannot talk about this particular subject matter without addressing it from different perspectives. The first perspective is when we talk about giants. If you were among the pygmy tribe in Africa, whereas the average person is shorter than 5 feet, for instance, and someone of this stature and in a remote area like this, from their perspective, the Watusi tribe, where the average female is over 6 feet and the average male is 7 feet and above, from a pygmy's perspective, these would be giants. I'm 5'8" on a good day. And from my perspective, if I were to stand next to someone who's a professional basketball player, you know, these guys are huge. From my perspective, these guys would be giants. We can give many examples right here in this reality that we can measure right within our own collective sphere of consciousness as to how we can apply the word giant to a person. Now let's look at it from a metaphysical perspective. You are a giant from a metaphysical perspective. How and why is this? It is because you are, from this perspective, vibrating from the level of, or the equivalent of where you would be from the root or ground chakra. The root and ground chakra is the lowest level that we could vibrate on. This is usually where a lot of the things we see manifesting in the world is going on. A lot of lust for power, lust for sex, lust for control. You know, this is where the root chakra would be equivalent to where you are in your physical manifestation. It is the most, the densest, meaning having no true awareness of its greater self, heavy, strong, passionate, all metaphors. Now, if you were to apply what I just explained, we talk about chakras. We have the root chakra, the solar plex, you have the throat chakra, the heart chakra, the crown chakra, and there are chakras that go beyond that. By your metaphysical perspective, there's a greater you that is vibrating far beyond what you can see. Again, tie the two between the chakra system to the physical body, and you in your physical manifestation being the equivalent of the root chakra. So there is a layer, there are layers to you that you cannot see that would be the equivalent to and of a giant. You're far more layered and far more massive than meets the human eye. Now, let's get to the nitty-gritty of this particular discussion. Were there actually giants in the sense of 50 feet men, 40, 30 feet men and women walking the earth? The answer to that question, based on my revelation and based on what I have experienced and seen beyond the veil, yes. But these beings were not the offsprings of the Nephilim or the fallen angels that the Bible talk about. This is very layered, and what I'm about to share with you guys may be a bit surprising. The giants that the Bible talk about, meaning the children who were birthed from earth women, they were on average grew to be 12 feet on average. The giants, the real giants, actually comes from another dimension, another realm of existence. And we have seen photos on the internet of people digging up and examining these particular bones, the bones of these particular entities. And some of them are Photoshopped. Some of it is authentic. It is real because it actually happened. This is a part of our history that is hidden. These beings, I guess you could say, some of them fell and some of them came down. And they came down to Earth at a time when the gravitational pull was a lot different from what it is now. Again, keep in mind, reality is far more fluid than meets the eye. The Earth actually started out vibrating in 5D, in the fifth dimension. So there was a lot more harmony and balance, and a lot of things that would be perceived as supernatural from our perspective, that was a natural part of that sphere of consciousness, that collective body. However, when things start falling apart, all of the wars, all of the disharmony, the discord with nature, Earth stopped spinning and vibrating as fast, and she slowly descended down to a lower level of vibration. And of course, the gravitational pull, everything changed, everything shifted. So the beings who fell, or who were on the earth at that time, fell with that. And of course, because the gravitational pull is different, these particular beings could not or cannot survive in that climate. But that does not mean the place from which they came is no longer in existence, because it is simply vibrating on a higher vibratory reality, a vibratory layer that could support a being walking upright on a sphere of consciousness in this way. So those massive bones that were dug up 36 feet, 40 feet, etc., these were humans, but on a much broader reality. Humans did not start and begin on Earth. Okay, we need to keep that in mind too. And just like we're not, the average human on Earth, we're not exactly the same height that we started out. The average human on Earth at one time was probably about the size of the pygmy tribe. But as the Earth expands, so does all of its inhabitants. So it's fair to say that if humans are still here another 2 million years from now, the average human may be 8 feet tall, whereas thousands of years before, the average human was about 4 feet tall. You see where I'm going with this? So Think of humans who are who are evolving in other realities that are a lot more harmonic and a lot more expansive. Naturally, in an environment like that where they're continuously growing and the gravitational pull is not as strong and as heavy, those humans would be giants in comparison. Jack and the Beanstalk, the story of Jack and the Beanstalk is actually touching on the fact that there are giant humans existing in another level of awareness or another realm of consciousness, and many of those giants are you. They're us. Now, the offsprings of the Nephilim, people ask, well, if this really happened, where are they? Where are these giants that were born of earth women from these fallen angels? Well, some of them are still here on earth. They are very elusive because they have to stay in an environment that would support, or that could support, a 12-foot, 13-foot being. Have you guys ever thought about the many mountains that the average human has never been in, never truly explored, and never will? Something to think about, particularly these high mountains. These beings, for their survival, naturally they had to go into an area on Earth where they had the best chance of survival, and that will be high altitude environments. So yes, there are giants still walking amongst us, but the real giants, where the average human would look like a bug in comparison, they are on a different vibratory reality, or would even go as far as to say they're on a different planet. But again, that would still be the equivalent of a different vibration. There are massive planets out there that scientists have found, and naturally, the bigger the planet, the larger the life would be there to support it. There are planets so large that Earth would look like a ballpoint on an ink pen in comparison. Who do you think is on, or would be on, a planet that massive? Giants. Giants of everything. There are so many different ways that, again, in which I could talk about this and explain this. I would like to talk about it from a astral projection experience, a couple actually, where I had seen the giants that I'm describing now. They look just like humans, but they're 40, 50 feet tall. Now try to wrap your mind around that one. I've seen it. And when I saw it, I didn't have a lot of I didn't really believe in giants and these things per se. I didn't have a lot of references to make something up like that, other than the story of Jack and the Beanstalk and a couple of movies where I had seen where there were giants in the movie. But again, I didn't put a lot of thought into it. The giant that I had seen, again, Ethiopian, again, coming back to Ethiopian, a tall Ethiopian in comparison would be about the height of a 6-story apartment building. I saw a woman, again, Ethiopian. This Ethiopian thing keeps coming up. Allow me to make a quick clarification point here. When speaking off of the cuff, I don't always follow up with the appropriate clarification on certain points. When I said that the giants seen in these instances were Ethiopian, I'm actually referencing how they appeared, meaning they had facial, cranial, and general qualities and characteristics that are very common and or typical with the Ethiopian people of Africa. To give a clearer point of reference in this regard, I will now share with you just a few images of Ethiopian people. Now let's pick up where I left off. I will now pick up from the point where I was describing seeing a giant woman, Ethiopian in appearance, that I had seen beyond this veil of extreme limitation. Ethiopian woman with a, I can't think of the name, with one of these head capped off at the top, lying down, and just from lying down, and those of us who were projecting there, we look like dolls compared to her. And why do I talk about these things? It is because we are just like a lot of these people who are in these remote areas, these remote jungles in Africa. These people only know their small environment. But when someone that they rarely see comes in from the outside, they revere them as gods, just like humans have always done, have revered them or labeled them as giants, etc. Well, the same is true from an earthly perspective. We would, because of our extreme limitation and how we've been given so much false information and not given enough of real information, if we were to go beyond the borders of our limited mind and extreme limitation, we too would realize and would be labeling beings who are just natural to the order as godlike or strange or giants and alien and so on and so forth. I do this to get us to start expanding our mind, because once we expand the mind, we will see a lot of things. We will just know a lot of things. And it would not be so easy for us to trust the wrong people, follow the wrong people. It would not be so easy for us to be misled, deceived into hurting and destroying ourselves, our planet, one another, the animal kingdom, and so on and so forth. This is why I do what I do. It's not about me trying to keep people in some fantasy world like some people have suggested in the past. No, we are in the fantasy world as long as we keep believing and thinking that this is all there is, and that our leaders are telling us the truth, and that the history books are correct, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to end it here. I didn't want this video to be too long, but again, reality is far more expansive, far more fluid than meets the eye. If you can think it, if you can see it, it is real. May not be here, but somewhere else. We live in an infinite reality, and we are co-creators and creators within this infinite reality, and we exist far beyond what the human eyes would ever be able to see. And on that note, continue to question, learn, and grow, and thank you for spending this time with me.